Good day everyone, we are the Group 3 and we're going to present the ethics and the challenges of the modern world. But our topic focus about the globalization, what it means, how it shapes our world, and the key ideas given by John Scott. So this presentation will help us understand why the world today feels more connected and interdependent. But before that, let me introduce you our objectives. First is to analyze the five interpretations of globalization. First, the internationalization, liberalization, universalization, modernization, and the territorialization, and the rules in creating interconnected global challenges. Second is to evaluate the ethical implications of the millennial and millennial generation values, individualism, field dependency, work-life balance, on corporate social responsibility and civic engagement. Lastly, is to apply moral principles to the contemporary global issues of poverty, migration, and environment and stewardship, contrasting the ethical perspective of pluralism versus fundamentalism. And now let's move on to our main topic, which is the globalization. So first, what is globalization? Globalization is the erosion of national boundaries. Nations are less isolated and more connected. National governments share power with transnational corporations, inter- intergovernmental organizations, and NGOs, environment groups. So, globalization simply means that national borders are becoming less important. Countries now shape power with corporations, international organizations like the UN and NGOs. This shows how the world is more connected than ever before. Next, a borderless world. We now live in borderless world. As the song We Are the World says, we are becoming one global community. Globalization is already happening and we cannot stop it. It's like a strong force that affects everyone and everything. Next, the Scott's five interpretations of globalization. So John Scott, a well-known globalization expert, described globalization in five ways. So first, internationalization, liberalization, universalization, modernization or westernization, and last, deterritorialization. So the first interpretation of globalization by John Scott is the internationalization. So it is a cross-border relations, trade, finance, communication, and interdependence among nations. So internalization kuno is about growing connections between countries through trade, money, money, and communication. For example, products we use daily often come from different parts of the world, showing that how nations now depend on one another. And next interpretation of globalization is the liberalization. So it is an open borderless world economy, reduced trade barriers, and free movements of goods, money, and people. So liberalization means a more open world economy. It removes barriers that stop trade and travel. This makes it easier for business to operate globally and for people to work or travel abroad without strict limits. And the third interpretation of globalization by John Scott is the universalization. So it is a spread of culture and global similarities, common technology, and shared concepts. So universalization talks about how cultures and ideas spread across the world. For example, we use the same technologies, share entertainment like movies and music, and follow similar systems such as the calendar. So these common elements unite us culturally. The fourth one is the modernization or the westernization. First, the spread of modern ideas and systems, capitalism, science, movies, music, and Western influence in global lifestyle. So modernization or Westernization refers to how modern society systems like science, capitalism, movies, and Western culture spread across different nations. So this influence how people dress, communicate, and live their daily lives. So the last interpretation of globalization according to John Scott is the deterritorialization. So it is the social space not limited by borders. Corporations and NGOs operate globally. Activities and influence cross territories easily. So deterritorialization means that many activities today no longer depend on physical location. Companies and NGOs operate globally, crossing borders through technology and communication. Social space is no longer limited to one place. And now, the overall meaning of globalization is it is a global movement toward interconnected economies, integration through trade, investment, technology, labor migration, and removal of economic barriers. In simple words, globalization is the global movement toward economic and cultural integration. Countries are now linked through trade, investment, labor, and technology. Barriers are removed to allow goods, services, and people to move freely. To summarize, globalization connects countries politically, economically, and culturally. It brings opportunities such as easier access to goods and information, but also challenges. Understanding it helps us adapt to changing world. In closing, remember that the world is becoming one global community. As a students and future professionals, understanding globalization help us prepare for a more connected future. That's all, and once again, this is Jason Marikit, and I'm going to give this moment to Miss Divine Grace Gabas to continue our presentation.
Great afternoon, everyone. My name is Divine Gracie Gabas, and for today, I will be tackling about the moral challenges of globalization. So, globalization influences people's values by exposing them to new cultures and ideas, pushing them to move from a local mindset to a global one. Even the Filipino kame or tayo term mentality can expand to include a wider global community. So, this explains how globalization changes our moral thinking by widening our perspective beyond our local groups. Of global moral consciousness. So, global ethics encourages people to extend their moral responsibility to all human beings. It aims to address global inequalities and promote fair distribution of resources. So, it helps us global ethics helps us think about fairness on a worldwide scale, not just in our immediate environment. So, areas covered by global ethics. Global ethics deals with worldwide issues such as poverty, environmental problems, human rights, child labor, trafficking, migration, and climate change. These concerns require global cooperation to solve. So, this shows us the major global issues we need to address collectively because no single country can handle them alone. So to summarize, globalization expands moral awareness from local to global thinking. Global ethics guides us in responding to worldwide problems with fairness and shared responsibility. So, globalization pushes us to think globally, and global ethics helps us act ethically toward all people.
Good day, everyone. My name is Arawai Galayan, and my topic is all about the global poverty. So, what is global poverty? Global poverty refers to the condition where people are unable to meet their basic needs, such as food, water, shelter, and healthcare. Millions of people across the world will still live on less than $1.90. per day, which is considered the extreme poverty line. The map shows that many African countries remains the most affected by extreme poverty, although poverty is present in various forms around the world. So, global poverty happens when people cannot meet basic needs like food, water, shelter, and healthcare. Many still lives on that place and mentioned that um, 1 billion 90 cents a day, especially in parts of Africa. And ethical questions about global poverty. A key ethical question is, do wealthy nations have a moral duty to help poorer nations? Many philosophers and religious leaders say yes. For example, Saint Ambrose reminds us that the food we waste is the right of the hungry. And Father Jerry Orbos says that if we learn to share, no one will have too little or too much. These statements highlight the idea that sharing is moral obligation rooted in love and compassion. There are ethical questions about poverty, such as whether rich nations are morally responsible to help poorer ones. Thinkers like Saint Ambrose and Father Jerry Orbos teach that sharing and caring for the poor is a moral duty. And why are some nations poor? Some countries remain poor because of lack of natural resources, insufficient technology or education, weak management system, corrupt leadership, limited access to trade or global market. On the other hand, wealthy nations benefit from strong institutions, better education, technology, discipline, and stable governance. Because of these inequalities, the Vatican promotes the preferential option for the poor, meaning society prioritizes the needs of the poor. Some nations remain poor because of lack resources, weak governance, corruption, and limited access to technology or markets. Meanwhile, a rich country benefits from strong institutions and stable systems. This leads to the church teaching on the preferential option for the poor, meaning society must prioritize the needs of the poor. Next is moral obligation of wealthy nations. Helping the poor is not just about giving donation. It involves sustainable assistance. Example, if a wealthy country has a good harvest, simply sending excess crops is not enough. Economists must ensure that this does not harm local farmers in poor countries. Instead, support should help them develop long-term solutions such as improving production, enhance, enhancing skills, creating jobs, supporting small farmers. The goal is to help poor nations become self-sufficient, not dependent. Wealthy nations have a moral obligation to help, but not just through donation. Assistance should be sustainable, such as improving skills, creating jobs, helping farmers, and supporting local industries. The goal is to help poor nations become self-reliant, not dependent. Thank you.
Right afternoon, everyone. My name is Althea Hayres, and this is my topic. What is migration? Migration is the movement of people from one place to another in search for a better life. Many leave their home countries because living conditions are difficult, opportunities are limited, or their environment is unsafe. Migration is often response to challenge that staying at home very hard. So migration is when a person decides to leave their current place because staying no longer support their needs or goals. It is a major life change that involves adjusting our new environment, new people, and sometimes even new culture. Migration is not just moving, it is a decision made because someone believes another place can offer a better chance in life. Why people migrate? People often migrate because of poverty, lack of opportunities, or oppressive government. In some countries, netizens live under dictatorships or tyrannical rule that limits freedom and basic rights. Others migrate to secure a safer and more stable future for themselves and their family. So people migrate because something in their current environment pushes them away, like lack of jobs, unsafe surrounding, or limited opportunities. At the same time, another place pulls them in because it is promises security, growth, or better future. So migration often happens when the hope of improvement becomes stronger than the fear of change. Example, a young woman living in a province where job opportunities are limited, so she decided to work abroad as a caregiver. She wants to help her family financially and secure a stable income. The decision is hard, but she knows that staying might not help to support her family needs. Why receiving countries attract migrants? Receiving countries attract migrants because they offer safety, freedom, and better opportunities for work and education. Many also uphold humanitarian and Christian values, encouraging compassion towards to those in need. This promise of better life give hope to people living difficult situation. Receiving countries attract migrants because they offer a better job, safer communities, and fairer opportunities. These countries provide stability and support that help people build a better future. For example, a nurse work in Canada because the salary is higher, the workplace is safer, and the country offers clear path for career growth. She migrates because she knows Canada can help her and her family for a stable life. Moral and ethical issues. A major ethical concern is whether countries should accept migrants without limits. While it is compassionate to help others, countries must also protect the welfare of their own citizens. Exceeding the capacity to support migrants may create social and economic strain, and some individuals may enter with harmful intention, making regulation necessary. The challenges of these countries is balancing kindness with responsibility. While helping migrants is humane, government must also protect their own netizens, manage resources, prevent potential risk. Too many migrants at once can strain housing, healthcare, or jobs. So, example, a small country receive a sudden wave of refugees, their shelter become full, hospitals get crowded, and school cannot accommodate more students. The government struggle to help everyone while still taking care of its own netizens. This situation forces them to limit entries and create strict screening rules. A responsible approach to migration. A responsible approach balances compassion with security. Screening and regulation help ensure migrants are welcomed safely. Support programs can assist integration without overburdening communities. Long-term solutions also require addressing the root causes of migration in other countries of origin, helping people improve their lives at home. So a good migration policy involves fair screening and safe entry process and programs that help migrants adjust their new environment. It also means addressing the root problems in migrants' home countries so people won't be forced to leave. So example, a country creates program where migrants are trained for job, taught the local language, and give the temporary housing. At the same time, international organizations help to improve the economy of the migrants' home country so fewer people will be forced to migrate in the future.
Pluralism versus fundamentalism. As a political philosophy, pluralism is the recognition and affirmation of diversity within a political body, which permits peaceful coexistence of different interests, conviction, and lifestyle. Pluralism as to content refers to diversity, to differences in values, beliefs, and to notion of otherness. Pluralism about morality may be understood as a form of relativism which holds that there is no single objective or universal standard. The challenge is to find common grounds and build up from there. The questions to ask in all meetings is what is morally best for all parties and not what is legal or lawful. Pluralism is the recognition and acceptance of the differences or diversity in interests, belief, and ways of life within a community or a country so that peaceful coexistence can be achieved. So this means wala sang single or correct or universal belief pareho sa moralidad. Ang importante is to establish a common ground based sa pagkalain-lain kag ang pag-consider kung ano ang maayo sa tanan, not just what is according to the law. Despite pluralism as an offshoot of globalizations, there are sectors who refuse to get out from where they are used to. Their movement is called fundamentalism. This refers to any sect or movement within a religion that emphasizes a rigid adherence to what is conceived of as the fundamental principle of its faith, usually resulting in a denounce of alternative practices and interpretations. Whoever is not with them is against them, and therefore an enemy who should be piously killed, that is, killed in the name of God. So, ang fundamentalism, biskan pa nga nagagwa ang pluralism tungod sa globalization, is ang pag-insister sa pila ka group or certain nga religious sa strict nga pagsunod sa gina-consider nga fundamental principle of their faith, meaning rejecting sa ibang nga practices or interpretations. Para sa ila, ang hindi nila kaupod is isa ka kaaway nga dapat ng patyon in the name of God. What is needed is a training or education on how to live together. Living together is the affirmation or acceptance of the other in spite of who or what he or she is, caring, forgiving. It is the global oathness, citizens of the world ought to face the world and learn how to live in it. So what is needed is training or education on how to live together. Living together means recognizing and accepting sa ibang biskan who or what they are, caring and forgiving. This is the global oathness, kinanghalanon or necessity the citizens of the world need to face and learn how to live here. In fact, learning to live together is one of the 4 pillars of learning to given by the International Commission on Education for the 21st century headed by Jacques Delors. So this means teaching people to recognize and respect others, to cultivate understanding, compassion, and solidarity, and to help build peace and harmony. In short, this is learning how to socialize and live with mutual understanding among diverse people and in different situations.
Good morning, everyone. Today, I will be presenting on environmental ethics. So, environmental ethics examines the moral relationship between humans and the environment. It guides responsible actions for the protection of nature. So, the guiding question: why shouldn't we throw garbage into rivers? Why stop dumping waste into other countries? Why must nations reduce pollution and carbon emissions? These questions highlight human responsibility for environmental harm. For moral obligation, humans have a moral duty not to damage the environment. Environmental harm often boomerangs back to humans. Our actions directly affect health, safety, and quality of life. Intrinsic value of nature. Nature has value in itself, not just for human benefit. Protecting the environment is not optional. It is a moral responsibility. Biblical concept of dominant. Have dominant means responsible stewardship. Humans are caretakers, not destroyers. Good stewardship, caring for God's creation. So why environmental ethics matters? It protects human life and future generations. It ensures long-term stability of ecosystems. It promotes responsible, moral decision-making, and it helps build a safer and sustainable world. Environmental ethics reminds us that protecting nature is a moral duty. Our choices today shape the environment and the lives of future generations. That's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone. Today I will be discussing the key characteristic of millennials. First is optimism and high expectation. Millennials are known as a very optimistic generation. They grew up believing they can achieve anything, which is good, but sometimes this optimism leads to them to expect too much too soon. Because of this, many millennials enter adulthood with expectations that are not always realistic, leading to the possible disappointment. A major influence behind this is what we call helicopter parents. Parents who are very involved and always supportive, which shape millennials' positive outlook in life. Second is technology dependent. Millennials grew up in a time when technology was rapidly advancing. Because of this, they become highly dependent on technology. They use technology to improve the work performance, stay reproductive, communicate faster, and support flexible and remote work. This makes them very adaptable in digital environments. Third is preference for flexibility and work-life balance. Compared to the older generation, millennials put a high value on flexibility. They prefer flexible schedules, balancing work and personal life, and doing work that gives meaning and enjoyment. This shows that millennials don't want just any job. They want a job that fits their lifestyle and values. It's highly opinionated and vocal. Millennials are very expensive. They are not afraid to share their thoughts and opinions. However, this strong expression can sometimes be misinterpreted by employers as being too demanding, difficult to manage, or not committed to traditional workplace roles. But in reality, millennials just want to be heard and understood. Fewer commitments and more freedom. In their early adulthood, many millennials have fewer family responsibilities. This gives them the freedom to explore new opportunities, try different career paths, and make different choices. Because of this, they can enter the real world with more freedom to shape. Millennials are generally confident. This confidence comes from a supported environment while growing up, many opportunities in education and technology, and overall optimistic mindset. Willingness to work hard. Contrary to stereotypes that millennials are lazy, motivated, millennials are willing to work extra hours, keep breaks, and do more to help organizations succeed. They perform best when they believe in what they are doing.
Welcome to my video. Today I want to tackle the values of and characteristic from millennials generation. First, millennials understanding the generation. Millennials, also known as Generation Y, are individual born between 1931 to 1996. This generation was preceded by Generation X, born in 1961 to 1980, and followed by Generation Z, born on 1992 to 2012. Millennials have grown up in a world shaped by technology, social media, and rapid change influence their various behaviors and expectations. Second, generation amid definition and debate. The concept of generation and their concepts birth years is a topic of ongoing debate among researchers and authors, while Williams, Kratos, and Neil Howe are notable figures in field generational theory. Their work, including the fourth turning 1971 to 1982, has contributed the discussion of generation. Thank you.
And now we are done to our presentation. To conclude, global problems are tied to two main things. First, globalization is when the world becomes one, and the millennial or millennial generation. Globalization makes big issues like poverty and migration harder to solve. At the same time, millennials focus on work-life balance, and technology changes how they look at right and wrong. To fix things, this generation must use its skills to create good ethical rules that can handle problems like the environment and the fight between having many beliefs, the pluralism, and or the very strict ones, the fundamentalism. That's all everyone, and once again we are the group 3. Thank you and mabuhay.